Hard conversations had to get real. Hey, my name's Chad Murray. Thanks for coming to my channel here, where I help scale service businesses, and I do that today. And I can help you today with There's a scenario. I own a large service business, so we're doing around between $4 and $5 million, and I don't work there. So I have the management teams there, but I still do the sales training, and I still show up either on Zoom or I go in there in person every Tuesday morning for an hour. And of course, I still manage the management and watch the numbers and talk to my CFO, all that kind of stuff. But I don't have anything to do with operations. So anyway, if that's something you're interested in, you want to get your business like that, down below there's a link. Go ahead and make an appointment with me. But let's talk about hard conversations today. So we were having a pretty rough November and the start of December at my service business, and this is at a time when we're supposed to be banking money, and we're down about 40% this year. After, let me take that back. We're down 40% in November, and then the start of December, and so after these 6-7 weeks of just abysmal sales, and even lost money one week, which is insane during this time of year for our business. I had to come to a realization that I coddle and I train and I support and I build a great culture, and my guys love me. They love working for us. I mean, I've never had a better team working for me ever. As a matter of fact, we had a record October and we had a record August. September was average, but I mean, so we've 2 of the last 4 months have been records. But the problem with them in records in months that don't really make money. We did make money, but not significant amount. And so November is a significant amount of money we're supposed to make. We broke even. That's bad. So December started, and it was a crap show. It was a total shit show. And so I finally, I said, listen, I gotta get through to these guys. I mean, something's going on. You can't blame the economy all the time. You can't. I've got other videos on that. It really comes down to really making sure that they are doing their job. And with sales guys, it's sales process. Are they doing the sales process? And are they confidently doing it? Well, so what I did was I I knew something was wrong. I've already investigated if anyone was stealing from us. I've done all this stuff and the protocols that everything's on the up and up, except for sales suck. And typically around this time of year, we're doing around 100 to 125,000 a week in sales, and we were doing $60,000-$70,000 in sales, which is terrible. Which is weird because we also, the week of Thanksgiving, after having 4 weeks of abysmal sales, we actually had that week was a record sales week just a couple weeks ago. So now, if you're watching this later, I'm recording this in the middle of December, so I'm talking about 2024 fall season for a chimney service business that does around $4.5 million a year in scaling, and we're down this year. We'll be lucky to hit 4 million, which we will, but it'll be skin right at 4, or just maybe just right under, where I can still call it 4 million. But anyway, I'm a pretty good culture guy. I've taught culture. I teach it. I show systems on how to make sure you're doing it. And there's not a culture problem. What I found is I went into my CRM and I started looking at their bids. And I got to tell you, it's not my job to look at the bids. I own the company, but I've got 3 managers that it's their job to make sure the bids are correct. And I got in there, and the night before the meeting, I had to call my general manager, and I didn't really chew him out, but I mean, I definitely said I'm disappointed. And at some point in time, and John's my general manager, we don't have heated conversations. It's very rare. I mean, we don't get into it. That's not our relationship. We're like really close friends that run a company, and he just works for me. That's the respect we have. I mean, I don't look at him any lower than me or higher than me. We're equal. I just have a little bit more say because I own the company. And he, as I was telling him this, he actually kind of smarted off to me and said, what do you think? I'm just sitting on my ass doing nothing. And I said, John, and that's not like him to say something like that, but the frustration of the last 6 weeks got to him, and I could feel it and I could see it, but it has gotten to me too. And so we have a mutual pain here. And instead of going down that rabbit hole of yelling at him, and I was like, wait, John, hold on. Nor did I even insinuate that you're sitting on your ass and not doing it. That's not it. What you're not doing is you're not checking the bids, and you're not doing this in real time, because what we do, we don't trust anybody. That's what systems are for. Systems, I don't want to judge people's stories. So we make sure that there's a system for a system to make sure that everything's being done correctly. And what's broken down is my general manager, my assistant general manager, and my other sales manager. They're not looking at every bid, and they're not asking questions, and they're not making them do things and checking things that are missing and all this kind of stuff, because everybody gets lazy. Everyone gets in a rut. Well, I think these guys went from a 3 or 4 month high, and then November hit when it's supposed to be easy for us. It got super hard. The election happened, and some people are butthurt. They're not spending their money. I think next year is gonna be like COVID 2021, where everything's great. I think 2025 is gonna be amazing. But we're having a rough time, and so I'm sitting there looking at my all these jobs. Me and John, I'm like, John, you're just not doing your job to make them do their job. And he admitted he understood. He shouldn't have said what he said, which is I don't get butthurt on stuff like that. And so I have a very short memory for people that I love on stuff like that. And we discussed it. I said, listen, I hadn't logged in our CRM in a year. I don't, because that's not my job. I mean, I get reports and I get everything, but I don't log into the CRM. So I went and logged into the CRM, and I went through 2 weeks of estimates, and I had a list of about 30 estimate numbers. When I went in there, I put the notes on what was wrong, what was missing, and then I texted him over later that evening the numbers, all the estimate numbers to go over. And so then we went into the meeting the next day. I started the meeting very simply. I looked at everybody. I was on Zoom. I did not want to go down there and be in person, because in person I might have been. I know my own limitations, and in person I might have got a little too heated. So I looked at everybody on the Zoom, and there's about 10 people in the room, and I said, guys, everyone knows that right now we're not doing that good. So do you guys want me to coddle you and try to boost you up? Or do you want me to be real? Do you want me to get to the real root and what I think is going on here and really give it to you? And if anyone's butthurt, I mean, it is what it is. Can you guys handle that? And everybody was immediately really fast. We can handle it. What's up? So I just looked at him. I just said, you guys suck. What you're doing right now sucks. You're not doing your job. You're not doing the sales process. You're not following up. You're just not doing it. You went from record-breaking summer and early fall, late summer, to thought it would just be easy. Well, it got hard. So when it gets hard, you really have to do your job and do it right. So I mean, I actually dropped F-bombs, which is so not like me. I swear a lot, but I don't swear at my people. And I dropped a couple, and I think they kind of got their point across of what it was, and it is, and which they know when I'm talking that I'm passionate and I know what I'm talking about, and it was truth. We had total truth to it all, and we have a program that's called Ciro. If you don't, have you ever heard of this? There's a competitor called Rilla. So Ciro and Rilla are the two big people. They record in the field, and so they on their iPads will hit record, and it records them and the client. Okay, and so I get to hear the whole process, and it has an AI analyzation thing of steps that you've set in the process that we put our process in, because our process we have lined out, which I can do for you too. Every step of the process, and we have all these steps in there, and then there's keywords that AI has to hear them say to see if they went through all steps of the process. And so it's a great training tool to see if they're really doing it. So and what's nice about it is everyone comes together, and we can listen and go, okay, well, this is what this guy said. What would you have said? And we kind of go around the table and we start doing that kind of stuff to really train on it. And it also holds them accountable to do it. Well, we haven't been listening to the serials lately. We've been so busy. Bad excuse. The we're busy shit, which is not right. You really need to do the job. And the job is, you got to watch everybody, and you got to do everything as if it's just too busy, you need to hire. It's just that simple. But so here I was. I went through the whole thing, and I called out everybody for not hitting the record button. And there's one guy who really has a hard time hitting the button, and he'll be almost $1 million sales guy this year, my number 2 guy, and I called him out in the middle of the meeting. So at the end of the meeting, I said, "Is anybody here butt hurt?" And I could see him, and I could see in the Zoom, I could see he was butt hurt because everybody is like, "No, we're good," and he's just sitting there staring off into space, right? He's pissed, and so I'm going to bring it up. Hey, what's going on? What you seem to be butt hurt. What's the problem? He goes, "I hit record." I said, "You might be hitting a record, but guess what? They're not saving, and that's on you." Because as many times as you go to 3 appointments a day, and with 3 appointments a day, you haven't had a recording saved in months. So you can tell me you do it, but for some reason you've been showed 100 times how to do it. You're not finishing the process. So that needs to happen. Sure enough, next day everybody's recording. Everyone I'm seeing I get an email every day of the recordings. But here's what happened. So that Monday, what caused me to do that, our sales for the day was $1,300, which our minimum is 20 grand right now a day. Was $1,300. We've never had a bad day like that. Our worst day probably in the history of the last 20 years has probably been $2,500 in a day. Did $1,300. That was it. So I went to that meeting upset, right? Hard conversations. I had to get real. So I had that hard conversation. I told them what they all needed to be doing right. And we went out and we beat last year was a good year. We beat last year's sales by 20K. Last year was was right at 100 or 82,000 in sales, which was low. That was low for last year, even whatever. But we did 108,000, and I'm recording on Sunday. There's a lot of approvals that happened Sunday night, so who knows what we'll end up doing? But we ended up beating last year, a little over 20K in sales. So you don't always have to be kind. I mean, you be kind, but you got to tell the truth. And if you're upset, the guys need to know if they're not doing what they need to be doing. You need to let them know. You can't just always be kumbaya, whatever, and be happy about everything and at least portray that to them. They need to know when you're upset. But when you're upset, you've got to have a reason why you're upset, right? And then you have to back it up. So I did my homework. I went into the CRM. I found the stuff. I talked to my general manager, called him out on it. He admitted it. So I'm in the right. I had everything right. I had a reason to be pissed off. And look what happened. They went out and they put up a record $108,000 in sales in this week, which is amazing. And so we will be again this following Tuesday in a couple days. I'll be again addressing, not upset. I won't be coming with a hard conversation, but I'll be addressing, are you doing your job? And that kind of stuff. So guys, have the hard conversations because sometimes it's just what you need to do. It's, sometimes you just gotta you gotta throat punch it sometimes. And I mean, you gotta do it tactfully, but sometimes that's just what it takes. Sometimes people just need a little, punch in the head, and I mean this rhetorically, obviously, PC, rhetorically, some people need to be mentally slapped, or reminded. And there's only so much training before you can just go, systems aren't working. This is why, this is how, get it done. And that's it. And so even if even when your things are going well, that's when everybody see, this is what happened to us. Things are going well. We got lazy. We got comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you get lazy and you expect good things, and good things happen until they don't, because all of a sudden they're not doing their job. And when they're not doing their job, it starts affecting your pocketbook. And when it affects your pocketbook, it's now time to have a hard conversation. So I had to get real. So if you ever need help with any of this, go ahead. Down at the bottom of this link, there's going to be a free course, a DNA roadmap, and also a Calendly link. You want to come and talk to me? It's free. We'll chit chat. It's not going to be a sales call. We'll talk about your business. And of course, at the end, I'll say, if you want to work with me, I'll show you what that looks like. And so I really appreciate my YouTube channel as we're growing it. And I hope to see you soon. See you later.